Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome to another episode of the Tech Preacher Podcast. So in this episode, we're going to talk about smartphones, right? Listen, I make plenty of videos about smartphones, but let's talk about some reality versus what you see, right? Don't get me wrong. Smartphones is wonderful, right? Mostly, almost everybody on the planet has a smartphone. But things is a little different. It ain't what you see, right? I want to talk about this for a second. And I'm going to focus a little bit on the United States market, not overseas, not international market. As you know, in the United States, it's a decline in sales when it comes down to smartphones, right? But a lot of y'all guys might think, well, hell, we looking at the y'all YouTubers and y'all making, phone videos and y'all hyped up and they got new devices come out, the S24, you got the Pixel 4, you got the Pixel 9s, you got all these devices coming out, and then we have the new iPhones coming out, and everybody like, oh my God, the sales got to be booming in the smartphone industry when it come down to the United States. But that's not the case. I'm going to give you my personal reasons why, right? Some of this stuff I'm going to talk about is probably not backed up by data, but some of this stuff is backed up by data. I'm just going to give you my personal reasons why there's a decline in sales in the United States when it comes down to the smartphone industry. First of all, let's talk about the facts, right? Samsung and Apple pretty much dominates in the United States. Well, Samsung is seen at 6 quarterly decline in the row when it comes down to smartphone sales, right? Overall, in the United States, they're seeing a decline, right? And same thing with everything else. Why though? Why? I mean, you've seen all these new shiny devices. You've seen the folds. You've seen all this stuff. Tech reviewers making videos about it, saying it's the best thing since sliced bread, but nobody's buying it. Listen, you have to remember it's a fundamental difference between tech reviewers, right, and then the average consumer. The average consumer is the bigger pie versus tech reviewers, and we are the small pie. Tech reviewers is small. The average consumer is the one that's buying the phones. And you have to remember some tech reviewers usually get their devices, for review units. They get it for free. So some reviewers don't even buy their phones. And if they do buy their phones, again, it's a small portion of the pie. So you can't really go on, oh my God, it's the best phone on the planet when nobody's buying it. Again, Samsung and Apple dominates the United States. We're not talking about international. I've saw some reports that international devices are going up, your Vivos and your Xiaomis and stuff like that. They dominate. But why in the United States the sales are declining? Why in the United States when everybody, all of us tech reviewers, we talk about AI, everything. Oh my God, all these new phones, they coming up with all this, that, and the other. But it's a decline. People not buying phones, man. I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why I think people ain't buying phones in the United States, right? First, let's talk about it. And this is the most main part of it all. Price. Listen, man, I don't care how much AI that you talk about, how much you think it enhance the cameras, how much you try to sell the devices is way better than last year. It's a beast of a phone. It doesn't matter. Price. When you're looking at a Galaxy Z Fold 6, which is declining, it's sold less than 10% versus the Fold 5. So that's in the decline. Right? Nobody ain't buying it, right? I mean, they sold under 300,000, I believe, or 300,000 units. I mean, that's sad. Why are they not selling off the shelf? Price, $2,000 after tax. Now, listen, I know what people say, well, you got trade-in. What? Everybody don't have trade-ins. So you look at full MSRP, right? Tech reviewers know the golden code of trade-ins. If you talk to a lot of the average consumers, they don't have the golden ticket of trade-ins. Most tech enthusiasts have multiple devices that they can trade in. Most average consumers only have one device. So when it comes down to, getting a new device and all these shiny new devices, it looks great to them, but they're not buying it. And a lot of people, well, the average consumer can get things on, device payment plans on their network. But let's put that in perspective, right? Let's talk about the Z Fold 6 for a second, right? Why do that? I mean, listen, most carriers go charge you $75 plus, if you don't have a line, add a line, $75 plus for that device. That means your already expensive plan that you have on your carrier that's already expensive now, it's going to go up by $75 plus a month. So if you have, a few lines, you and your spouse and maybe a kid or whatever on your plan, and your plan is about, 125, 150. If you add a Z Fold, that means you passed the $200 range. And listen, man, people can say what they want. Man, price is everything. People trying to save money. People trying to scale back. People trying to pay off things so they don't have extra bills. People in this economy, what's going on right now in the world, people are scaling back, not adding extra costs to their bills, right? Only tech enthusiasts add costs to their bills, right? The average, listen, I've talked to a couple of people. This is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this on this podcast. I talked to a couple of people. I asked them, if you had an opportunity to get a Z Fold, which they get solicited, right, through the emails and phone calls, say, hey, you will get a Z Fold, S24, whatever, this, that, and the other. And they, after they go through all the rigmarole, they talk about, well, how much, it's always the thing, how much my bill is going to go up. And when they say between $75 for the Fold, or maybe $45 plus tax, you got to add tax in there. And that's the key point right there, to your bill for S24. For 2.5, 3 years, however the duration of the plan is. Man, you think about the 50 extra bucks a month for S24. Man, that's $50. Thinking about when people try to scale back, people try to, save a little money, try to have a little extra money. Listen, it's nothing extra right now. We go to the grocery store, everything's pretty expensive. Car insurance, it went up. I'm talking about in my area. Utilities have went up, a higher percentage points. Everything is going up. Listen, I just bought some new tires, man, and I was floored on how much new tires cost me, man. Right? Things are just so expensive. So when you're looking at your current device, right, and you're looking at, man, should I upgrade? What is it about the new device that entices me to upgrade? And nobody can explain it. Faster processor, better cameras. Okay, well, can I live without a faster processor and better cameras with my already almost paid off device? Has good cameras, has everything that I want, right? And this is the decisions that a lot of adults is making right now. For Christ's sakes, let's make sure we put this all in perspective, right? We're talking about a smartphone. Listen, let's make sure we understand. So we talk about a phone. Listen, we as tech enthusiasts, we talk about it as a computer in your pocket. But most of the average consumer only do a few things on their phones, people. Think about this. Does it make phone calls? Can you go on social media? Key point. Can you go on social media? Hey, God, they don't give a damn about the processor and all that stuff like that. Can I go on social media? Yes. Can I take photos? Yes. Battery, okay. Don't matter. They just put it on the charger, right? So if their phones are working today, why spend $1,500 to get a new phone? And these are the decisions that a lot of people is making. This is why you have a 6th quarterly decline in sales. It's because here's what we're seeing. Samsung and Apple and some of these companies has blinders on. They don't know what the consumer wants, right? That's the point, right? They feel that they could release an almost $2,000 phone, right? And they think that it's going to fly off the shelf, and it's not doing it. They think they can release a $1,300 phone, and they think it's going to fly off the shelf, and it doesn't. And so what are your options? What do you see that people are carrying? Listen, I had this conversation. You broke your phone. Okay, you have 150, 200 bucks in your pocket to go buy a new phone. You listen, you going straight to Best Buy and you go and buy a cheap Motorola, cheap something that costs you 200, maybe go on Amazon and find something between 200 to 250 bucks. That's your max range. That's it. You ain't paying no more than $200 to $300 on a smartphone. And once you get that smartphone and you set it up, you think about this. God, this $300 phone works very well. The cameras looks really good. I could go on my social media. I could go live and it looks really good. And you say, well, what's the sense of buying a $1,500 phone or a $2,000 phone when I got devices that cost $200 and $300 bucks that for the average consumer works really good? And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing a decline. Now, again, I'm in the United States. This is what I'm seeing. So what's the answer for Samsung and Apple, right? Well, first of all, you got to find out what the people want. Tech enthusiasts always want the faster processor, the more RAM, the better cameras. They want, this, that, other. Tech enthusiasts want specs. That's tech enthusiasts. Tech enthusiasts always going to want the better cameras, 1-inch sensors, 50 megapixel cameras, 200 megapixel cameras, 5,000 milliamp battery, 6,000 milliamp battery, 12 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of RAM. They want a, quad HD display, 120 hertz. What I just said this past minute, the average consumer don't have no clue what I just said. If you go at the average person and you say, hey, listen, I need a 120 hertz display. I need 16 gigs of RAM. I need a 200 megapixel camera. I need to shoot in 8K. I need to do this. I need a 1-inch sensor and all this. The average consumer, you lost them. They don't, because that don't matter to them. They don't care about the specs. What they care about is one thing, the price. So the price is probably the most important thing that these companies is forgetting about. So what's happening year over year? Prices are increases. A lot of people say, well, inflation and the parts cost more. Things cost more to develop. R&D costs more, right? Okay, so if people like Samsung and Apple spending a crap ton of money on R&D and everything else, raising their prices, but what are they seeing? A decline in sales. So you're raising the price with R&D, you're trying to solicit people into buying your devices, but at the end of the day, they're not buying it. They're holding on to their devices till the wheels fall off. But now, with the newer devices, it's 7 years. So you think that if they buy a new device this year, knowing that it's a 7-year turnaround, they ain't buying no phones for the next couple of years. And this is where the huger decline is going to come in. Because now they go solicit that, okay, we're going to try to give you guys more. We're going to give you 7 years of updates. Well, the previous devices had 5. So most people that got the previous devices got 5 years. They're still good. They can still rock their devices for another 3 to 4 more years. So they ain't buying no more phones. The tech enthusiast, that's a totally different category, which is a small category. The average consumer is the people that's looking to buy in. Just go talk to them. Ask them these questions. If you got a device in your hand right now and it's working fine, they ain't buying. So this is why you're seeing a 6 quarterly decline. And I'm talking about Samsung because Samsung is the sole winner in the United States. In the U.S. market, when it comes down to Android, they have the largest market share in the United States. So that's why you got to always put Samsung in the mix, right? If you're seeing Samsung have a decline, now don't get me wrong, Google and them trying to compete, so maybe they're having an uprise in some of their prices. But I mean, as far as their market share, but here's what Google did though this year, right? That kind of freaked out even the tech enthusiasts. Even though they have a excellent device year over year getting better and better, what they did was they raised the price, giving you less storage. And that hurts because now the average consumer look at that, okay, I mean, I remember of course they got the cheaper Pixel, but the word Pro sometimes people look at, man, I want the pro device, man. I mean, come on. And a lot of people, where you got to pay for the pro device, where the pro device costs so much. And so what the average consumer does, they have to make a decision. Well, hell, I mean, I'm not paying $1,100 for that phone because I want the pro. I don't want the cheapie. I want the pro because, I want the pro. And since I can't buy the pro, I'm not buying the cheapie. I'm going to just go hold on to the device that I currently have. And that's the problem. You cannot go up on these prices. Listen, they have to find a way. And Apple had this issue, right, with Vision Pro. A lot of people say, well, easy, Vision Pro was for a niche market. It wasn't made to be sold and stuff like that. Blah, 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 blah. I understand that part. I still believe that these companies are in it to make money. So when they see a decline in sales, they can't just say, well, okay, we're going to take a hit this year. Oh, we're going to take a hit next year. Oh, how many times you think these companies was willing to take a hit before they say, hold on now, let's stop and see what's going on, right? Why people not buying them our phones? You got to remember, the tech enthusiast is such a small pie of the bigger pie. The bigger pie are the average consumer that goes to the carriers that will buy them outright, that stuff like that. We are in a bad economy, so to say, as far as when people go and buy groceries, the utilities are a little higher. People, taxes are going up, and as far as homeowners, taxes are going up. Insurance is going up. My car insurance went up by 40%. Going out to the grocery store and buying groceries, that went up by 30, 40% or whatever like that. So when you're looking at paying more at the grocery store, paying more utilities, paying more, listen, even with the carriers have increased their prices also. So you have the carrier to increase their prices for unlimited. Now they try to add stuff here, unlimited plus like that, just like that. But then, you're thinking about other services like the cable bill that has went up. Listen, a lot of people cut the cord. I was one of them, right? We cut the cord. We say, you know what? We go get a few Fire Sticks. We go get this, and we go subscribe to some apps and go on and watch our favorite programs on these apps, right? But what happened? Listen, I remember we get Netflix at $6.99, $5.99, and the HBO was $4.99, and all these other companies was $5.99, $6.99, right? But look at them now. They $11.99, $21.99, right? Peacock just came in at a blazing, $14.99 for Peacock, and all these services that then doubled and tripled their prices, just like that. So these services are going up. Everything's going up. So people look at, right, maybe I can survive off this device for another year or two. Well, that's where you get the decline in sales. Listen, it goes back to price, man. And so here's what I believe ought to happen. They need to find a way to get the cost down that's manageable, right? And a lot of people, if you drop the cost, then they're going to have to sacrifice some stuff. Listen, when we talk about this, about specs and, chipsets and cameras and stuff like that, I believe that phones have been fast for a very long time. I've been reviewing phones since way back then. And when you talk about phones like, what has like the 865 processor, the 888 processors and stuff like that, people still wasn't using all that processing power that was in those devices. So now we have these high power devices, right, that has, 8 Gen 3 overclock processors with all this RAM in it. If the average consumer did not push the 888, the 865 to the limits, having all these high-end processors to certain people to go on Facebook and Instagram and take pictures and stuff like that to make phone calls or text message, it doesn't matter. It's foolish. So I can see eventually Samsung and some of the companies going to have to say, you know what, they need something in the $800 price range. They need something under $1,000. And they're going to have a lower processor. Again, going on Facebook, going on Twitter, looking at TikTok videos, Listen, you don't need a lot of processing power to do that type of stuff. Make phone calls and text messages, watching movies on YouTube and Netflix. You do not need a lot of processing power for that. So yes, you can cut back on certain things as processing power, stuff like that, just to lower the cost. You think I had to, because if they're seeing a decline in the market, then something got to change. And this is, we talk about innovation. If you want to innovate, give me a great device under $1,000. That's innovation. People, man, listen. If you're going to sell devices for $2,000, obviously you got that tech enthusiast, that very niche market. That's it. So that means that if you're going to go all in on foldables, then that means that if you're going to go all in on foldables, you got to make them affordable. And right now, $2,000 is not affordable. I just want to give my 2 cents about that. Man, people might disagree with this. People might say, well, people got money. People just choose, not to buy a Samsung. And that may be the case. They say people got money. People choose not to spend money on smartphones. And that may be the case. People, the hard data doesn't lie. The hard data is year after year, we seeing companies like Samsung and stuff trying to come out with all this new stuff, AI, everything splashed all over the place, but at an extremely high price that's out of the price range of a large population of the average consumer. It's out of the price range of the large, and I know they have budget options. But here's the problem. If you have a current flagship from a year or two ago, that means that if you buy a current budget device, you downgrading. That's the thing. Why would I have, let me go back to Samsung. Why would I have a S22 Ultra and go from an S22 Ultra to a S24 and not the Plus and not the Ultra? I'll be downgrading because it's cheaper, but I'll be downgrading. Why give up my current flagship for a cheap budget option when I can keep my flagship and let Samsung go into this decline until they figure it out? That is the thing. Again, tech enthusiasts worry about processors. I want the 8 Gen 6 processor with 10,000 gigs of RAM. They want, the 2,000 megapixel cameras. They want, that's tech enthusiasts. Regular degglers don't give a shit about that type of stuff. They don't. You ask anybody what megapixel camera you got on that device, they couldn't tell you shit from giggles. You go ask the average consumer how much RAM you got in that phone. They wouldn't tell. They don't know. And they'll look at you like, I don't care. Long as it does the job. So it's a fundamental difference between tech enthusiasts and regular degglers. Regular degglers couldn't tell you what is a 2 megapixel, 100 megapixel, 10 megapixel. They don't know nothing about that type of stuff. They don't. And listen, they don't need to. They're not tech enthusiasts. They ain't no computer science people. They're just regular people that just want to buy a device and that just want to go on Facebook and Instagram and do a little text here and there, but they don't want to spend $2,000 for it. Why spend $2,000 to go on social media? Why spend $1,500 to go on social media? Why spend $1,000 to go on social media? And this is where the devices are right now. And this is one of the reasons why I talk about if you want to rock a device till the wheels fall off, your current device, rock it till the wheels fall off. And I talk about other options that will get you to the next level, but you don't have to pay. I talk about the OnePlus 12, right? Phenomenal device, $699. Nothing in the market can beat it right now, right? And not only that, but that is it's a true flagship. Even if you look at devices like the S23 Ultra, if you could get that on sale, half the price. Obviously, Android devices drop like flies, right? You get that device for $700 that'd be a great deal, right? You don't necessarily need the latest and greatest to get all the flashy stuff like that. Man, listen, get what your pocketbook can afford and roll with that. Listen, man, I'm gonna get out of here, man. I just wanted to do this podcast. Listen, You may disagree with me. I'm sure that people go hit me in the comments and say, oh my God, this guy talk. Let people buy a flagship. Let them spend $2,000. Let them spend $1,500. They want the power. Their power. The price of beast. They will get the best of the best of the best. I know people go hit me in the comments about that, right? They go hit me in the comments. Listen, your pocketbook might be different from mine, and my pocketbook might be different from the average consumer. But when you go out, you talk to average people, man, when you tell them, would you spend $2,000 on the phone? 99.9% of most regular deglers will look at you just look at their eyes when you ask them that. Go up to them and just look in their eyes when you say, you know, a new foldable phone, about $18.99 plus tax, go hit you almost $2,000. You willing to buy it? You look at their face. That's it. They go tell it all. They go tell you, hell no. I mean, yeah, it looks good. You know, I wouldn't, but if I drop it, it's going to fall apart. It's going to break it to 1,000 pieces. That's most people think that. That's why they don't mess with the foldables, man. Foldable is too fragile. And listen, I agree. I mean, you drop a foldable, it's done. You drop a regular phone, you might crack the screen. You go to break, I fix or whatever, pay them $50, they'll fix your screen for you right quick. But you break that foldable phone, send that son bitch to Samsung. You better have some type of insurance. And that is an additional cost. You buy the $2,000 phone, you got to spend the extra few $100 for insurance on it. So is it worth it at that point? A lot of people say no. That's why they got to decline in sales. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Another episode of the Tech Preacher Podcast, baby. We're going to see y'all next week. Same bat place, same bat time, baby. Go Saints, baby. My Saints playing this weekend. I'm ready. Let's go.